Hello guys. So it's the next day. Tinashe had already started his day doing push-ups with nothing stopping him from going from one mind to another with mind scattered throughout the city. If Ntlozi was ever going to change, if Maneko was ever going to change, Tinashe prepared and encouraged him to dress better. Although Maneko made it clear that clothes meant nothing to him, they both knew that changing clothes was not the same as changing a mindset. Most individuals are concerned with materialism, focus on their outward appearance and how it defines them to the rest of the world. When men and women focus on that, they ignore the fact that there is a ton of material to study all over the world, and those who are supposed to be doing it are on the verge of becoming lost or are already lost. Maneko's story was straightforward because throughout his entire life, he had been searching for something, but he did not know what it was. He had a sense of he had a sense that his life was out of the place, and it was only for him to accept that sometimes decisions give us a purpose. Just like Tinashe, who used to walk by sneaker stores and wonder if there would ever be a day when he would buy them all and wear them until his heart worn out of them. Many things changed as a result of it, and that was the most important tool for change. He learned that things that used to matter before no longer mattered, and that it is big part of understanding what it means to change your mindset and having a vision. This makes more sense than simply to benefit from the person who seeks change. Our motivation appears to come from deep within us. We should be understood as being inspired. It is only a matter of time before the magic of motivation fades and we are left to deal with the actual reality, which is not always what we expect. And when we are expecting more, we receive nothing or less, but it is never viewed as such because folks sometimes make such a big deal about goals not being met. Others come to the conclusion that they are not worth it. Those circumstances are usually found when humans are uninspired in life. The moment they run out of that motivation, they are back to square one, and this time it may be 7 times worse than it was previously. It happens when beings consider themselves to be weak, and when it is only based on the mindset. Tinashe was about to use the same strategy the doctor had taught him. It was good enough for him to save one morsel and bring it back to light while they were on their way to find Makatini, who had not only gone missing but also inspired to be like Tinashe in terms of hustle and hard work. Without knowledge, some folks become irrelevant to the point where they cease to play the roles that they are expected to play in their families, much like mothers and fathers who commit crimes and blame it on their children's responsibilities. Criminality is no excuse, and when it happens, children who are born in wrong places suffer the most. Tinashe and Maneko left the hotel with plans to eat breakfast somewhere else instead of staying in the hotel and doing everything there. Being away from the hotel allowed their minds to reflect what was going on. When individuals learn how to do things and work their way to the top, it is important to note when masses work hard to achieve something good for themselves, they join forces. But after 2 years, he had a new sister. By the time he was 10 years old, his father had died. Maneko's life was a struggle. His mother became married, and he was born around 1994. But his father died, so his mother got married to his stepdad, and they ended up 2 years later. He had a new sister, and by the time she was 10, they lost again their stepdad. Before his death, he was seriously ill for some time. The house had no breadwinner at the moment. At the moment that he fell sick, his wife had to become everything at home. The hospital would have been better. It took time for them to get him to the hospital, and these 2 children were left without a father again. It would be difficult to be raised by a single mother while she was lonely and they were still young. As a single mother with 2 orphans, she did her best. Maneko had to move from one place to another after he had lived with his grandmother. The situation worsened just after his father died because his grandmother died in her sleep the following year. She died while he was still in her care, so they had to find a way to survive. The mother remarried and brought them with them again to a new husband, which was now the third marriage. And when they moved in, they ended up with 4 children to raise, despite the fact that neither of them had a secure job. Maneko wondered how he ended up falling into drugs when he had a role model at home. As usual, his stepfather, his new stepfather, was always there whenever he needed something, even though he still didn't respect this man as his father. Of course, even when he sat down with him to encourage him, Maneko found it even more discouraging because his rage for his father amounted to his rage against the stepfather who loved him. Just like a child who doesn't listen around grade 7, his new friends who were mostly older than him, and some of whom and some of them and some were no longer attending school by the time that they were in they were in form 1 or grade 8. So when would spend the entire day getting high, and they would spend the entire day getting high. When they were looking for souls to destroy, Maneko happened to be available at the exact moment when the devil was working to recruit demons in human bodies through drugs, and he began to dance with the devil. Meanwhile, the investigator had spent the entire day, the entire night putting together his case, wondering if there was a direction he could pursue to reach the end goal without losing the better side of everything. Whenever the opportunity presented itself, he would seize it. He had already taken a shower to begin his day, but if he was going to be working for 16 hours or so, he thought nothing would be better to set the direction than going to a nearby bar where other officers would congregate in the morning. So the first thing he did was to grab a coffee on his way out. His files were used to build a case against the individuals who had been silencing and adapting others because the community, so they would be lost out there without anyone to help them. And when the time comes, it is feasible that someone will either die to protect the secret or will lie about telling the truth when it is available to be told. And there was never a point where it all becomes pointless. The detective knew that most of the people who used abandoned buildings were either poor or deep into some dark journey that they had brought into. Also, most of the folks found in these buildings were drug addicts and those selling drugs. It was a place that the chief would not even stop him from searching it, as ignoring these cases was worse, and it had become too much for him. There were cases that even if they were cops, they wouldn't take them because they would never come back from them. And those cases, yeah, we all know those cases. Those cases, they would leave to a department above with enough resources to take down gangsters, those who chose to live by a gun. When there was a time to build, it was when everyone was focused. The detective took advantage of the fact that politicians had captured the majority of people's attention because he had a little of that comfort in him. His attention was drawn too far. When the opportunity arose, he seized it, and there was no turning back. The work imposed by those around us should be the same work that encourages us to do better. The detective had his coffee while taking in some sunshine, as the day had a burst of good morning sunshine, which was just the start of all of the work around him. When men and women are focused on achieving their goals, on achieving their small goals, and other goals and large goals are neglected, but it is wise to know that large goals are achieved gradually. Being grateful along the way will not only help one become more efficient in dealing with their problem. Without knowing much, some beings are impatient about how they want to change the face of the earth, and this is when we hope for growth. When is it ever appropriate to put aside the small picture and focus on the big picture? The detective got into his car and drove to see the judge, hoping his work would be respected just as much as the judges. He was a man dedicated to working hard and not taking vacations when they were unnecessary to impress his desires. In its approach to combat, this attitude allows for the recruitment of youngsters as soldiers due to the eclipse of reason and purpose of consciousness. It can be interpreted as a faulty rationalization that norms human awareness and pave the way for the adoption of social political ideologies that regards ethical difficulties in the pursuit of the desired objective and adheres to the notion that the end justifies the means. This is not just the domain of armed groups who recruit soldiers and governments or countries that are stockpiling weapons of mass devastation. When the detective arrived at the office, the judge informed him that he would certify his warrants to search buildings throughout the city in the hope of recovering many bodies. The investigator had gone straight to see the judge upon his arrival, but unbeknownst to him, the judge had scheduled the meeting for 10:30 a.m. The judge had been preoccupied with a number of cases, but with a wealth of knowledge, he managed to keep up with the idea that was there, turning it into a mission they could accomplish together. Upon the detective's arrival, he was informed that there was a court ruling in progress and that the judge had left a message for him to participate. As the detective began to listen to the people in the court and the judge and the justice the judge was seeking, he realized that this man was serious. He knew this because he had attended a few of these court case proceedings, even for parole guys. Their relationship was good. The judge wouldn't let the parole officer take a case without notifying the detective. The judge and the officer's commander knew deep down that they would that they had a trustworthy person among their ranks. They shared the majority of their work with him because they knew that one day he would be wearing their uniforms and standing against the honored. As the ruling continued for about 45 minutes, the detective waited impatiently. Though the case was very inspiring, however, corruption in the city was increasing, causing problems for those who usually put in much effort. Many were dizzy from the economic change, and once that was understood, it would not be long before the truth was revealed, and many would go on to serve another sentence. When the time came, the emphasis was on setting the right course in the right direction. And if you think about it, there will never be a chance for those who do not take it. A hard worker earns their right to life. When the judge called a recess for the court, it was an opportunity for the investigator to get the stamp he needed without having to walk around with papers. All the information the judge required was all contained in these files. The judge went to his office and the detective followed him before lawyers began bothering the judge to choose sides. The detective knocked on the door and the judge, who hadn't even sat down because he was still standing to close the door, with an officer standing outside to keep them out, smiled as he opened the door again. The judge wondered if these two men had something in common, which was being able to achieve justice through education and encouraging other young individuals to do the same. So guys, thank you so much. So we're gonna continue from where we left off, which is here. So comment, tell me what you think, and if you think there are some improvements that you think I should hit up, oh, I should do that, but I'm beginning to enjoy this, so let's see if we can do it even better. Juices, I'm up. Oops. Swagger down the street with your